Hello and welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where we have a juicy one lined up for you today. 10 banned players at big clubs. This script was written by myself with the help of you guys on Twitter, so direct all hate to yourselves. Let's get started. 10. Roman Bürki. It's no surprise that Dortmund have failed to add to their 8 Bundesliga titles since 2013, when you consider that they have been prevailing with the 29-year-old Swiss international Roman Bürki in goal for the last 5 seasons. Signed after being relegated with Freiburg, he has missed just 13 league games since, a period that has seen Dortmund finish second just twice. Prior to his arrival with Weidenfeller as number 1, Dortmund won 2 league titles and finished as runners-up a further 2 times in the preceding 5 years. This season, BVB have thrilled going forward, with no one scoring more than their 65 league goals in 22 games. But at the other end, it's been a different story, with Dortmund conceding 32 goals, the joint most in the top 7, and 2 or more goals in 10 of their 23 games to date. Whilst Lucien Favre's defensive structure and his error-prone centre-backs deserve their fair share of criticism, Bürki also deserves a hefty portion of blame. Across his 19 appearances, he has a pathetic 49% save percentage. To put that in context, that's a massive 5% lower than the next worst in the top 5 leagues, Eredivisie and Liga NOS put together. Kepper. Thanks to Ben Kurt Willis on Twitter for this one, it's certainly deserved. 9. Kostas Mitroglou. Best remembered for a disastrous 6-month spell at Fulham following a £12 million transfer from Olympiacos, which yielded a grand total of 0 goals in 3 appearances, 31-year-old Kostas Mitroglou is somehow still going. 52 goals in 84 league games in the 3 years following that move, with Olympiacos and Benfica, earned Mitroglou another shot in the top 5 league with Marseille. But after a promising debut campaign in which his 13 goals in 30 appearances helped Lom to 4th place in the Europa League final, his career once again hit the buffers in 18-19. Mitroglou's poor form and the arrival of Balotelli in January saw the frontman further slip down the pecking order, and he played just 580 league minutes. With his career dying out and his body deteriorating, his next move was anyone's guess. Somehow he has ended up at 24-time Dutch champions and 1-time European champions PSV, and his impact has been minimal. Trusted with just 268 minutes, he has been less than useless to the Boerens' failing title challenge. 8. Mesut Ozil. Okay, before you all go absolutely berserk, we are not saying that Mesut Ozil has never been a good player. A 92-cap German international who's played for Real Madrid and Arsenal for the last decade, whilst winning a La Liga title, 3 FA Cups and 5 German Player of the Year awards, and a World Cup to boot, Ozil has had a career most can only dream of. But what is clear is that the player who provided 19 assists in 35 league games in 15-16, whilst laying on 4.3 chances per 90, a figure only topped by one player in the 3.5 seasons since, Payet's 4.6 in 17-18, is without doubt on his way out. His season has been underwhelming to say the least. Now 31, he quite simply didn't see eye to eye with Unai Emery, featuring in just 3 of the 15 games he was in charge in 19-20. Since Arteta's appointment though, Arsenal have played 12 games, with the former Los Blancos creator playing in 10 of them. And despite showing some improved form, Ozil still has just 1 goal contribution in that time, a 90-minute effort against Newcastle. For 350 grand a week, it's clear the German is no longer worth it. Before we move on to our next section, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Euro Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss one of our fantastic top 10s. 7. Sami Khedira. Thanks to @Cam Welsh for this one on Twitter. A league winner in 3 countries, including an unlikely Bundesliga triumph with Stuttgart in 2006-07, won it just 2 times this century, it hasn't been won by Bayern or Dortmund, 77-capped international Sami Khedira was once one of Europe's finest. Despite being 28 when he joined Juventus on a free transfer from Real Madrid, he's arguably played the best football of his career in Turin. Never really the greatest scorer of goals, the protection offered by the more defensively disciplined Claudio Marchisio saw Khedira, Pogba and latterly Matuidi thrive in the more box-to-box roles. The German contributed 29 league goals between 15-16 and 17-18, 10 more than he had across the previous 6 years. Unfortunately, a succession of injuries, including a heart condition and 2 knee surgeries, have seen the midfielder miss 49 games since the start of 18-19. His inability to get around the pitch has seen his passes per game drop from 46 per game in 16-17 to just over 25 this campaign, and he is yet to complete a dribble in 12 Serie A appearances this term. A sad end to a distinguished career. 6. Guido Burgstaller. It's perhaps unsurprising that a striker signed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for Championship side Cardiff City in 14-15, before going on to make just 3 appearances in his 6 months in Wales, might not be good enough for Schalke 5 years later. And so it has proved, as @Schmidtscher pointed out on Twitter. After a reasonably promising 3-year spell with Nuremberg between January 2015 and May 2017, in which he scored 33 goals in 63 games, he was snapped up by Schalke for £1.4 million. The high point of his otherwise underwhelming stint in Gelsenkirchen was without doubt the 17-18 campaign, in which his 11 league goals helped Tedesco's side finish second, despite taking just 11.9 shots per game, with a shot differential of just 0.8, a figure normally associated with a mid-table side. Since then, the 25-capped Austrian has managed just 4 goals in 40 league appearances, a figure topped by 5 players in this low-scoring Dinapen side. Having underperformed his XG for the last 18 months, David Wagner should look to move on the 30-year-old while he still has any market value. 5. Odion Ighalo. It seems a little harsh to include Odion Ighalo on this list, with the player having played for Man United for just 11 minutes to date, but there is nothing to suggest that the Nigerian won't be anything more than a weird footnote in the club's illustrious history. Whilst we are fully behind a childhood Red Devils fan getting an opportunity to represent the side of his dreams, there is very little evidence that he'll be able to contribute much to the side in his 6 months loan spell. 30 years old, having played in China since 2017, where he scored 46 goals in 72 appearances, a figure topped by 2 players, and having been forced to train alone due to coronavirus fears, it might take Ighalo weeks to get up to speed. And even when he does, we are not sure what sort of player Solskjaer will have at his disposal. Will it be the well-rounded striker that contributed 18 league goals in 37 games in 15-16 at Watford, or the one that managed just 2 in 18 the following campaign before departing for the Far East in January? Let's wait and see. 4. Vitolo. There are bad signings, and then there is Atletico Madrid's capture of Vitolo. Brought in for €39 million from Sevilla in June 2017, but unable to play for his new club until the following January due to their transfer ban, the 30-year-old has made next to no impact since. Signed after 4 years of solid performances in Andalusia, which included an average of 9.4 league goal contributions per season and 3 Europa League titles, he has been unable to recapture that form in the capital. 9 separate injuries have seen him miss 21 games, and when he has been available, he's been poor. In that time, he has contributed just 8 goals in 67 League and Champions League games. His stats don't actually suggest a massive decline. His shots per 90 are an unremarkable 1.3, higher than they ever were in Seville, and his expected goals and assists per 90 ratio has actually risen to 0.42. But having already reached his peak and without the express pace to get Atleti up from their deep-lying starting position, we don't expect Vitolo to improve. This was a complete waste of money. 3. Mariano Díaz. When the likes of Hazard, Mendy, Militao and Jovic came walking through the Bernabeu doors last summer in a €362 million summer spending spree, it seemed to spell the end for many at the club. Surely players like Vasquez, Brahim Diaz, Isco and Mariano Díaz would surely be shown the door. But to everyone's bemusement, all 4 remained, and whilst the first 3 have played 41 games between them, scoring 6 goals in the process, Mariano, despite no major injuries, has played just 14 minutes in the Super Cup in 1920. And unlike many others on this list, it's clear that the Dominican Republican could probably have a perfectly satisfactory career elsewhere. Still just 26, he managed to contribute 20 goals and 5 assists in 43 League and Champions League games whilst at Lyon in 17-18. Even last year, in an injury-riddled campaign, he managed 3 La Liga goals at an average of 1 every 147 minutes. While his expected goals and assists per 90 ratio of 0.79 was the best in Los Blancos' squad, albeit in limited minutes. Clearly capable and possibly deserving of more, Mariano needs to end his Real Madrid career as soon as possible. 2. Ross Barkley. Thanks to @GVRajak for suggesting this one on Twitter. Once painted as the great hope of English football by our ever-enthusiastic press, Ross Barkley's career has never been in a worse state. 25 months on from his £15 million switch from Everton, the former Toffee has played just 40 Premier League games for his new club. And yes, he has been slightly unfortunate at times, with injuries seeing him miss over 20 games. But the Chelsea hierarchy seem to have very little faith in him, signing Jorginho, Kovacic and Pulisic in that time, who have all pushed him down the pecking order. Trusted with just 559 minutes of league action this term, and with just 2 league starts since the end of September, it's clear that he might not be part of Frank Lampard's long-term planning. With his passes per game down from 46 in his final season at Everton to just 29, and his completed take-ons per 90 falling by 45% in his time at Chelsea, Barkley is clearly a player shorn of confidence. No longer the most exciting English midfielder in the squad, the Scousers should think about moving on this summer. 1. Martin Braithwaite. Thanks to the legendary @TheHasKareem for this one. In case you've been living under a rock, the football world was rocked to its core by Barcelona's signing of Leganes' Martin Braithwaite last week. La Liga has a ruling which allows a club to sign players if there is an injury crisis in their squad. Now, despite knowing that Suarez has been out for the season for months, and with Ousmane Dembele's fitness preventing him from playing a game since November, the Blaugrana made the inexcusable decision to allow forwards Carlos Perez and Alba Ruiz to leave this January. Just over a month later, Dembele was ruled out for months, leaving Barcelona with only Griezmann, Messi, Fati and their entire academy to field for the rest of the season. Of course, for the 26-time Spanish champions, this simply wasn't enough. So they chose to sign the man who has scored 6 of relegation-threatened Leganes' 18 league goals in 1920, Martin Braithwaite for €18 million. Is he good enough for them? Well, his unveiling suggested he wasn't. But having played a role in 2 goals at the weekend against Eibar, he looks set to be more useful than Kevin Prince Boateng, although that isn't saying much. 28 years old, just over a year on from scoring 9 goals in 40 appearances for Middlesbrough, this is one of the weirdest and most controversial transfers of all time. So guys, that's all we've got time for on this 10 bad players at big clubs. What did you guys think of the list? Did we miss any out? Get them down in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel most importantly, and I'll see you next time. Bye!